Hello and happy new year, everyone. I think it's new year. Most of us are still in the shedding stage, and some are also looking forward to the year of the horse. I think there's so much hype around it. So wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello, welcome from the UK. So happy that you're here. So this session came about when I was talking to someone, and it just showed how rapidly identities shift and how fast the energy is occurring at the moment, but also something that's emerging. And I'm seeing this a lot, particularly with clients and individuals that or leaders that I'm working with or talking to. And I just want to give you a background and talk to you about how this came about, why I think it's worth talking about it. And also, I want to share my personal perspective because it is a contrarian take. It's a different view to what mainstream says. And it's because I've also lived it, breathed it, and walked through that breath of fire myself as well. So, this is about the realization, that moment that you know or you feel there's an undercurrent, an undertone, you can't quite put your finger on it, but ultimately you've outgrown your business or your business has outgrown you, the structures, and it's time for a shift. So, how many of us have gone through that cycle of being in the power, being in the energy, and just be, and things will work out? And how many of us have done the let's build, 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 go, 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 do, 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 and we left feeling really exhausted, really stretched, wondering what the fuck's going on. And at the same time, on the energetic side, it's okay, what's going on? I'm being in the energy, I'm following my intuition, everything's really aligned, but things are slow. And it's something that I think we really need to start contemplating and bring to the fore, because as society and leaders awake even more, there is this emergence of masculine and feminine energies. And sometimes I'm like, what does that even mean? And it's becoming more as a marketing tactic or as a marketing trend to say, I teach feminine strategies, or masculine, you don't need another strategy. It's femininity the way. And I'll go into a segue later, but it's something I really want to come on to. But just taking a step back from that, and as we go through, and I don't have any slides, I just tell you that this is really intuitive and I tend to work that way, but I also have a structure and a guardrail, which is really appropriate because this session is about the dance and the waltz of the intuitive aspect, but also the structural side. So I guess this is what is referred to as the masculine and the feminine. And I just want to really dive deep and hone into what does that actually mean. And so I was at a dinner, um, and I sat next to someone and they said to me, "What do you do?" And I didn't even I just said, "Oh, I'm in energetics," or I guide women in particular because I have a passion that women who thrive and who have their own wealth actually helps society to be better. So I explain what I do and how I work with the energetics and clear the invisible blocks. And before I even finished, they said, "I want to work with you." I was like, whoa, no pitch, no sell. Like, no, I want to work with you. And there was another combination where I was at a networking event and a similar thing happened. And it's like, okay, what do you do? How do you do it? And they were very intrigued because the what happened was I could see the patterns. It's like an X-ray. And I could see the patterns of the individual and where they were both being blocked in their business, and also where they were being blocked, where that was rippling out through their life as well. So I literally just did a 5-10 minute session and said, look, this is what do I have permission? I always ask for permission. Do I have permission? There we go. And so that really started this shift in this movement where in presence, in my physical presence, I was attracting clients, and I didn't have to pitch. It was just so easy. It was very easy. But online, there was a disconnect and a gap with the activation of those clients. And I spoke to one of my mentors, and we had a really good conversation. And you sort of said, "You're activating people in person, and that's not translating online." And I have to give a call out to Stephanie Lau on this, late Stephanie Lau. I was absolutely brilliant. And she really promoted and encouraged me to really think about it in those terms. Because all along I'd been working with my intuition. But as my business was building, I realized I just didn't have the infrastructure to support what was occurring. And that was a sort of a holy shit, holy F moment, because it really brings to the fore that when you're building or growing or scaling a business, having a strategy and also working intuitively cannot occur without each other. It's that waltz, it's that dance. And especially as we talk about ease and being in ease and things being effortless, those systems and those structures and processes are actually even more relevant. They're even more prevalent. Absolutely. The gap or the disconnect is making sure that they are tailored to your blueprint. And that's where I see often gaps, or there's that missing connection with individuals that I work with, where I see this a lot in business, where there's a system to the process because they've been guided by whoever's running the mastermind or the coaching program to say, this is what I did to get my business to this point. Therefore, this is what I'm teaching you to do, without any connection that because it worked for that person where they were 3, 4, 5 years ago, that the energy's moved on, the world has moved on. That person has a unique fingerprint, and it may not necessarily fit in that way. So there isn't that tailoring of the strategy and the energetics to the individual. And that's where things get missing. And that was also what was happening with me personally, where I'd gone through a number of programs and it's like, okay, this is a formula. This is a system. This is how you do it. This is what you do. Follow this process. And I was following it and following it and following it. I was like, why is it not working? Why is it not working? But it wasn't that it wasn't working. It's absolutely a brilliant process, brilliant system. It just wasn't built for me. And that's the kind of thing that I think we often miss in business, because what's really happening also is when we ask, how do I go faster? When we ask, what will it take to get my business to your level? Or I want to be just like you, mentor, or I want to be just like ABC, and you follow their patterns and you follow their systems. What I've experienced and witnessed is you're not only adding more complexity and layers into your business, you're also taking on that person's patterns as well, in addition to the patterns that you already got. So your infrastructure and your boundaries will start to leak and get much more leaky. And then when things aren't going or working out the way they should, because let's face it, business, entrepreneurship is a gift. It is something that we've come here to do and chosen to do. But that said, when you make that moment and you make that shift of it's ease, in the term of how I describe ease, where things are flowing, not saying it's easy, the ease where things are flowing and you feel alive and you feel energetic and yes, this is a path. And even when there's a hurdle or there's a barrier, you're walking through it. That is ease. And so when we're following someone else's pattern, systems and processes, or formula, cookie cutter formula, without taking stock of what is right for you. How is that working for you? That's the moment we start to force. That's the moment I see most leaders start to be in that I have to do, or particularly with women, retreating into, okay, I have to be in the energy a bit more. I have to be more aligned. I have to raise my vibration. And I see that. And when I say, okay, what does that actually mean for you anyway? Does that mean? And it's, oh, I sit here and I raise my vibration and then I'm in alignment. There is a crucial part that's being missed. And it's this: your and our energetic authority grows faster when we remove the layers and the patterns. And most times we can't see them ourselves. So where we're over giving or maybe over pleasing or keeping our rates uneconomically lower than where they should be, because you're like, I couldn't possibly raise my price. And I give you an example. I had someone, he was saying, I couldn't possibly raise my price because if I do, I'm going to lose clients. And when we dug into the nature of the client base that she was serving, these are clients that were on multiple 6, 7 figures. And the price that was being charged was four figures. And that was part of that. When we dug into those patterns and those layers, there was that fear of abandonment. I'm going to be abandoned. If I put my prices up, I'm going to be abandoned. If I inform my clients that I'm changing the way I offer my offers or my service, they're going to leave. And so what that means is, if your business isn't built on a stable structure, the fear will kick in, the doubts will kick in, and it will feel like you're carrying everything alone. And then the money patterns that we also have, that we inherit and exhibit from our parents and our parents and generation, will also pull us into, are you sure you want to do that? Are you really sure you want to do that? You couldn't possibly do that. Are you really sure? You know, if you do that, you're going to lose clients. And so we start to retreat and walk back. And this is why I keep saying that it is a dance of having the structures and the intuitive, because intuitively we know, I know what is right for us. And when we defer, or you defer to someone else's authority on that basis, that's when the business stalls. That's when things start to stall. Because what's then happening is you're stepping out of how the way you were designed. You're stepping away from how or who you're designed to be. And then that causes a bottleneck. And it's not that you're doing it wrong. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's not that you're broken. And this is why I really want to break into those myths, because you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing that you're doing wrong. And it's not, I just have to sit and be in the energy, or I have to be in alignment. It starts with, what do I want, and how am I building a business that represents me and bring forward my potency and my magnetism in a way that I'm serving myself and my clients, the world, and everyone else around me. That's the shift that really needs to happen. And that really happens with that happens starting with what is it I really want? What is it I really desire from my business and from myself? And this is a really good segue where I sort of hearing I need to drop into alignment, because often I see in the new age or the spiritualism, and I'm a spiritual person. I'm not going to deny that at all, but I'm also pragmatic. And I always go back to that logical mind in terms of, yeah, that's great, but how do I implement this? How do I make it practical and move forward? And often alignment, you see it so current now, where it's, oh, you must be aligned, your business must be aligned, and your energy must be aligned. And if you're not in the frequency, it means you're not aligned. But what the heavens does that even mean? So I'm going to just take a side step and go, this is what alignment means for me. It doesn't mean I sit here thinking, oh, I'm going to sit here and meditate and journal and affirm, and this is it. Alignment is what is it that I've come here to do? As a soul-led entrepreneur, as a business leader who's here to make massive good in the world, what lights me up? Where do I get lit when I feel into things? Or am I following the masses? Even if it means that it's really uncomfortable, am I following the masses, or am I doing things in a way that I'm meant to be doing it? How does that work? How does that feel for me? And it's those nudges that you get with those, are you thinking, do I feel alive? I think people call it the flow. That is when we're in alignment. Because journaling, writing things out, it's great, but it doesn't shift your energetics. It doesn't shift your frequency. What shifts it is the ability to take action, even if it's fucking uncomfortable. Because one of the things I've observed is when someone says, oh, I don't feel aligned, and I've been there, I've absolutely been there, and I will tell you, I know what it's like. And you go, oh, I don't feel aligned. But that was resistance that was actually masked as amount of alignment. Because alignment means that you feel the resistance, you feel the uncomfortableness, you feel the shakes and the jitters in your body, and you think, oh God, I don't know if this is going to work out. Oh my God, and you go and do it anyway, because you just know that's the next step to take. And then the next step, and the next step, and the next step. And so that intersection of, I feel uncomfortable. I know this is really outside my comfort zone, but I'm going to work it anyway. I'm going to do it because I know this is the right thing to do. That's what I know that alignment is. And it's not, I'm going to sit in the energy, and it's not, I'm waiting for the energy to be right, or I'm waiting for the stars to be, because sometimes it doesn't work out, and it doesn't mean that you're not aligned. Sometimes it doesn't work out because it's not the right time, or that's an experience that one has to go through for something else to unfold. And so this is what a true alignment is for me. When I say it need part of that work is aligning, because as individuals, as soul led, whether we know it or not, whether we believe it or not, we come here with a mission, and we came here with a purpose. And most people that you see that are stuck, and this is I'm speaking from experience, because this is something that I went through myself, and then I had to intentionally focus on shifting it, where I'd done all the healing, and I'm like, okay, I've healed this. Why is it happening again? I've done this. Why is this coming up again? I thought I'd healed this. I'd healed it, but I'd created the space for more shit to occur because I wasn't intentionally stepping forward into becoming that identity that I knew or felt I needed to embody because it was uncomfortable. And this was part of what was showing up in my business around not having the right structures or infrastructure, because part of that was, hey, it will work out, it will be fine. Things always work out. I just have to be in the energy and adopt my feminine energy because I'm overcompensating for not being in my masculine, for being in my masculine for too long. And because coming from the corporate world, the behaviors and attributes that one has to adopt to succeed are very much in the do, the go, 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 go. And then moving into, the energetics, and some people refer to it as the woo, but I still believe it is leadership. It's not woo. Science is proving this. Being in that femininity and the being can be a distortion or a constriction to expanding your business. And so this is how I see it, simply that there are 4 pillars that requires attention to build a business that is scalable, has legacy, whilst addressing the invisible patterns or the blocks or limiting beliefs, as some people might call them, to really then unlock the wealth in our business. And the first one for me is the wealth energetics. Money is often seen as something that's external to us. And it's not. We all possess a money code, our own DNA codes that is imprinted into our cells, into our structure, everything. It's held within. And yet it's been conditioned that money is something that's external, and it's something that is not safe for us to hold, particularly as women. And therefore we revere it, or we get scared of it. And then we withhold putting up our prices. We go, no one possibly pay me that amount of money. And that's linked to how we view or value our worth. So when we can see that money and wealth is neutral, it's neither good nor bad. And I'll share a story. My son really brought this home for me. I have a 13-year-old son, and he's thinking about starting a business. And I said to him, "Oh, okay, what are you going to do?" And he's like, "Well, there's lots of things I can do." And he said, "Money is neither good nor bad. It's just money is there. It's not good. It's not bad. It's a resource. It's a tool. And we can choose to amplify it or use it in the way that we want. It's our choice." And that really landed with me, because for the first time, I thought, my goodness, the kids today are alerting us to the false beliefs that we've had. And so he was just so calm and so controlled. And it's like, yeah, it's money. And and then he said to me, well, if you talk about large sums of money as, openly and as if they're small amounts, then you're normalizing it. So it doesn't become an issue. And that's where I think the wealth energetics come from, because when we build from within and we unlock our lineage and our generational legacy, it becomes something that it's safe, it's normal for us to hold. So that's the first pillar. I think it's really important when we're setting up a business or working a business, that we sort of normalize. And then the second pillar is around, some people call it manifesting. I call it selection. Intelligence selection. So Again, this links back to the energetics of let's wait and see, let's see if it's the right thing. Let's just hold the energy and wait for the sign. Each and every single one of us has the ability to select our timelines. So we can select the timeline to get more of the same, which is I don't like my life. My life is really shit. My business isn't working. Clients aren't coming. It's so hard to get clients. I can't put my prices up. If I do, clients are going to leave or they're going to try and negotiate, or I better discount before before they come, or before I put the offer. So I better discount it before they come back to me. And sometimes it's about just acknowledging that client it's not the right time for you or for that client, or that client or you are not meant to connect together. They're not in your tribe, or not yet. But when it comes to manifesting, this is, again, it's one of the myths I think we just needs to break. Because when you're manifesting from the place of where you are, you will get more of what you're getting. There's no doubt about it. And I think this is a good segue to share because looking back, reflecting, I recognized there was a pattern for me. And it was this. It's every 3 years or so, I was in the corporate world, I was in the corporate jobs, and they were brilliant jobs. But every so often, when it gets to a cycle, after the honeymoon period, I would feel empty, unfulfilled, and asking myself, is this it? Is this it? Is this all there is? What's going on? And I would go into a daydream of the kind of life I'd want, the type of business I'd like, where I'd want to live and work and all those things. And when I was complaining about why I think things are never working out, oh, my job is so hard, I was just getting more and more of it. And then I was in a redundancy state. And then another redundancy came up. And then another redundancy came up. And I was like, shit, this is asking me to confront some things that I'd never dare confront. And there were these patterns that would keep coming up and they would ripple out through my life. And I'd love to know if you've had the same thing or something similar. I see someone's put life's a mirror, and I absolutely agree. Because what I was being asked to do was look at my life and what it was ready to be released and what timeline I was ready to accept. And so the misogyny and I think we face and we contribute it to society is manifesting can only happen if we think positively. This can only happen when we're positive. And if something doesn't go the way we want, it's not manifesting. It just meant I'm maybe not meant to have it. And that's why I say this is about intentionally selecting the timeline that you want. And I was listening to a podcast from Shaman Durek where he talks about you get to choose, you can select. So if you're in a situation right now, what that means, because often we tend to intellectualize it, put into conceptual, but practically, if you're in a situation right now and you're thinking, I don't like this, I'm not getting enough clients, or it's January and I've got zero income, I haven't got any forecasted coming in, etc. The way you can flip that by saying, this is not my reality. This is what he's saying is you get to choose within yourself, within your field, that my reality is A, B, C, D, E. And if there's something that as someone said in the Life's a Mirror, and if there's something just keep reflecting back at you, you can select. You can deselect and say, this is not my reality. My reality is this. Things come easy. I'm in ease. I'm in, whatever it is. I have so much so, I have this, or my home life is like this, and you can select. I am choosing. And I'm just going to stop and see someone says, "Oh God, I can relate to that." Just last tarot world card Justice. And that was their work. And that was the thing. I can riff on this all day, every day, because again, everyone talks about last year was a load of shedding and, blah, de blah, de blah. And it is. And this is so powerful, this period or this year, to then be in that intentional alignment of, right, okay, these things have occurred because I wanted to experience them. And now I'm ready to experience something else, something really beautiful, something really exciting, something really, the adventure, the traveling, the home, the family, the kids, the wealth, the money. And it can feel so good that when you're in that timeline of this is what it feels like and tapping into it, that's what it means by shifting your vibration and shifting your frequency, because you then get to take the action that moves you into that frequency. That's for me is the beauty of energetics. That's the beauty of working with this wonderful field, because once you move, once you shift, you cannot drop back down. And the third piece, I'd love to hear to continue that conversation because it's just so juicy. That's Yep. Energy moves before the evidence. It's just it's staying in that belief even before it arrives. And that moves towards the third pillar, which is the emotional leadership. That ability to expand and hold your power and the presence without splitting that control or collapse, going, oh, it's not there yet. It's not there yet. Oh, it's not there yet. And then we start to soothe our nervous system, going, oh my God, this feels really uncomfortable. I have to really soothe my nervous system. And I'm speaking from experience because it's something that I've been through where I did the nervous system regulation, where I was completely in fight or flight mode and went through that dysregulation. And then I recognized that I was going too far because that soothing, oh, my nervous system is dysregulated. It's like sometimes the nervous system leads you. Let me rephrase that. Sometimes, or most of the time, we choose how to lead the nervous system. That's because when that nervous system starts to feel uncomfortable and it's clocking, it's not telling you don't do it. It's not saying danger. What this is what's saying to you is there is something here that needs attention. And often it goes back to maybe it's a childhood thing or something that needs dissolution. And there's a 10-minute quick exercise that anyone can do, whether it's on the go. They don't have to go into meditation, don't have to do anything like that, just on the go, and ask and check in. Where are you feeling? Where is the body feeling that discomfort? Where's the system feeling that discomfort? To dissolve. Or if it's not going to dissolve, you can say it was something I learned from Abby Levine, where her sort of method is you don't have to dissolve it. You can simply say to that version of you, I'm choosing to accept a different timeline. And that's the crux of it. We don't have to accept what we're being given. It's not like our parents' generation and their generation, where it's like life is by default and we're in cruise control. It's like you can choose to accept a different timeline. You can choose to accept something different. And so one of the questions I've seen is, what in pattern people, I love to see how you can see patterns in people immediately. What stops them from making more money? Is a bloody good question. And it's not one or the other, it's such a different thing. So I share an example. I had this one example is that this person who, and I think is a really good illustration. That's why I'm sharing this one. Was going through a divorce, but also had uh, relationship or relatives that were dependent on them financially, and that was a burden. That was a real toll. And so, in their mind, they'd created this safety mechanism that said, if I make more money, then it's gonna be obviously diverted, or more people are gonna come and ask me for more money. So I'm not gonna make any more money. And so their pattern had stalled because if I make more money, it's going to go out. And it was just fascinating to see that in the base of their spine, there's this huge block. And that's what I'd seen. That's what I saw first. It's like, hang on, I can see that there's something here. What's good? And I see it's like the the chakras or the energy, I guess the energy centers, the energy point was started to close down. But also part of that was generational. It was a lineage thing because it came from the age of slavery where it was about, tell me what to do and I'll do it, or we have to work hard for our money. And it was just incredible to read, because I also read the Akashic records as well and what came up, because it's always about what needs to clear for you to move to the next level. Oh, this one's really juicy. Maybe it's a separate conversation on this one to give you permission, because I immediately am called to the third eye. So I keep it general here. But immediately I'm called to third eye and the throat. And for this individual, what I know is there is a hesitation. They're absolutely brilliant. They're a genius. There's this hesitation to step forward into the spotlight. And that time is emerging even more, and it's accelerating. So this person has to decide whether oh, okay. This is a separate conversation. Let's talk. I'll connect offline, but this is really juicy. But it's a separate conversation that not for this, as it's on Substack. But I'll just generalize some of the pinpoints. One is momentum is picking up, and there is a point of ready to move to the next level, and that means opening up more visibly. And there's also some talents that are not intentionally but unintentionally being withheld. Not how, not I'll just say, let's just say this person knows what they need to do, but there's a safety mechanism. It's like the safety lock is fully on and it needs unlocking. I hope you get what I'm saying, but it's cryptic. But I will drop you a note after this and connect. So the fourth pillar, which is the systems, the business led architecture. This is where the systems, processes, marketing, sales, the strategy, everything is guided by your energetics, your unique blueprint, and it's integrated. And whether we believe it or not, I know some of you may have listened to someone called Lenska. Is it Lenska Lutnoska? Where she speaks about this really heavily as well. And I've seen it and witnessed it. Your business is an extension of who you are, regardless of, and even the people in your team. So if you're 7, 8, 9, 6 figure, 7 figure, 8, 9, whatever it is, your business and the people in your business are an extension of your energetics. And often where things go off the boil, if that's not operating in sync or tailored to the unique energetics, that's when the blocks occur. That's when things perhaps stall or get stuck or stagnant. And it doesn't have to be perfect. But if you're tuned into it, and a friend of mine, she does energetics for the workplace where she sits in board meetings and can actually see where individuals in the boardroom are out of alignment or whether they're in the right roles or not and so on. And they work with it. And this is one of the best kept secrets in the boardroom. There is an invisible structure or org chart that is reserved for the energetics world. And this is something that I think more and more companies are engaging with. And so from my structure, and yes, it was loose, to say the least. I had systems, I had structures, I had processes, but they were not aligned to who I am. They were not tailored to me. And so for the past few weeks, I've spent stripping that back and also putting in place an ecosystem, or some refer to as I see it as an ascension ladder, where there's an appetizer, someone can taste my work, and then they can build into more. But also there is that deep, intensive one-to-one where things just shift and move rapidly. And it's not woo. And I promised myself I wouldn't say that word today, but I did. It's very much attuned to who you are. Because as the veil is lifted more and more people will see that they are here for a reason. They are here to build a business in a particular way for a reason that is aligned to their blueprint, is here to leave legacy for their family and their generation. So you've chosen to break that generational lineage. And your forefathers and your past generation are here to support you in doing that. The question that needs to come to the forefront is, are you up for that? Are you up for that challenge? Are you up for that legacy? And this is where those patterns of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy, which is so conditioned by society telling us that, needs to drop off. They get dismantled. Because if you weren't worthy, you wouldn't be in this world. If you weren't ready, that's the other thing as well, you wouldn't be having that calling. And that's where that dance, that waltz between getting the downloads, getting the information, but also having the systems, having the structures, having the processes, having the right sales and marketing infrastructure that works in sync, and not following the latest the latest craze or the latest trend or shiny new toy, will be the single most point that differentiates business. Because what I'm reading right now, and I'm seeing this occurring, if I'm reading the energies, I've seen a number of, I guess, courses or mastermind celebrities, as I call them, closing particularly some groups or closing some programs or closing some courses. And they've positioned it as, I've outgrown it and I'm tailoring my market, or this is now retired after X thousand episodes, etc. But what they haven't really shared with you is they built those things 10, 15 years ago, and that model doesn't work anymore. And so what they've been selling or sharing with people, something that is so it's not fit for purpose in this energetic state. And so this is where, when you have your own blueprint, you have your own mechanism, and you're taking it, like as someone said, where everything fell into place and you close those loops and then you feel amazing and then you take action on the back of that. That's not synchronous. That's not coincidence. That is you being called to lead and lead higher. So I'm going to stop here because I know I've really gone on. And this is something I can absolutely riff on all day. And I just ask if there are any questions or any feedback or anything he wants to share. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up because it's coming up close to the hour, and I know it's late for some people, but it's this. Because I'll say it this way, when your presence outpaces your processes, or when your identity moves faster than your business infrastructure, it is not a sign to slow down. It is a sign to evolve your business systems and structures to hold the identity that you've become. And it's not a sign or a call to action to say, I need to follow someone else's or follow a guru's approach. This is a sign to say, I need to follow what feels good for me. Literally. And this, my spidey senses say this year, things are moving so fast, so rapidly, and I feel it and I sense it. And I would strongly, I'm back in my corporate days here. I would invite you, encourage you, recommend that this is an opportunity to take stock of the systems and processes that you have in place and break it down in terms of your sales, your marketing, your operations, payment strategies, the vendors you use, outsourcing agencies you use, even if it's through, WeWork or anything like that, or Upwork, or and have a look, ask yourself really honestly, are they aligned to what you're building and who you're becoming? Because the next version of you, or that stripping away the remembering of you, that identity will not ask for average or mediocre anymore. And I have felt that myself, where I'm like, whoa, what the hell's going on? Where you're continually being up leveling and you suddenly realize, oh shit, my business structure and systems are kind of like lagging behind. So let's do something about that. And that's where I would say, when you're thinking about your business, think about in terms of, where does your power meets your peace? And where are you receiving? And where you or being asked to receive, but you're not ready to hold that receive. And so your magnetism and your potency then becomes diluted or missed by the people that are meant to find you. Because once they're inside your world, won't be any going back for them. So I would really invite you to really sort of step into that next level of embodiment. And then starting from this week, we'll be releasing an activation around shifting and clearing some of those invisible patterns, particularly around money, because that's something that I think I say money, but most of the time, money is sort of the outcome, the blockage, rather than the actual, let me rephrase that. Money is a symptom, not the root cause. And there's usually a pattern. And so we're working through shifting those and clearing those out to make this year one of the best years that every woman in this generation can possibly have for them and for their children and for other women around them as well. And with that, I say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. Really appreciate you coming along and joining. This has been really good. And if you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, any observation, I'd love to hear them. Please put them in the chat, please put them in the comments, and I'll respond to them as well. And also, if anyone that you know would really benefit from hearing this, I'd love you to share it with them or invite them to listen to it as well, because I really do truly believe that the more women have wealth, the better off society is. And with that, I say thank you, and thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure having you here.